Hi friends, it has been a minute. I hope you're doing well and that your year is off to a good start. I have been behind the scenes working on lots of new recipes, and I thought it was time to check in and share some meals that I have been especially loving lately. So here's a realistic look at what I eat in a week, just trying to keep things pretty budget friendly, pretty balanced, and hopefully this gives you some inspiration. Thank you to Thrive Market for sponsoring this video. I really wanted to start the week off by making a loaf of sourdough. This is my first loaf in well over a month. I kind of took a break from making bread over the holidays because I was baking so many other things. So I had to bring my sourdough starter out of hibernation again. Took about 2 days, and once it was nice and strong, I used the country loaf recipe from Tartine. Definitely out of practice with my bread making, so this loaf was looking like a pancake when I went to bake it, and I was worried, but it ended up coming out okay. And as I always say, when it comes to homemade bread, even if it comes out not looking the prettiest, it usually still tastes delicious. Since we finally have a loaf of fresh bread after so long, I want to make a batch of chickpea salad so I can have a really easy lunch and breakfast over the course of the week. I'm going to use my normal recipe. I'll link it down below on my blog. The only thing I'm going to change is I'm going to swap out like half of the mayo for vegan yogurt instead, just to kind of lighten it up a little bit. Over the holidays, I did so much recipe testing, so many baked goods, so many like super indulgent recipes. I have just really been craving healthier meals, more whole foods, plant-based, so I'm excited to make this. So it's dinner time, and I'm going to combine two of my favorite things right now. I'm going to take my recipe for Marry Me Tofu, and instead of using tofu, I'm going to use butter beans because I have been obsessed with beans lately, going through cans of beans like crazy, and butter beans are some of my favorites right now. I feel like the texture is just really satisfying, and also beans in general are really budget friendly. Butter beans, creamy tomato basil sauce, crusty bread for dipping. It's going to be really good. This recipe comes together super quick. It's definitely a good weeknight meal option, and it's really budget friendly too. Start out by sauteing some diced onion or shallot with garlic in extra virgin olive oil. I also love adding in some Calabrian chili paste for a little kick. Then I add in some chopped sun-dried tomatoes and tomato paste and cook until the tomato paste darkens up a little bit for the best flavor. Then add in some vegetable broth. I'm using chicken-style veggie broth from Better Than Bouillon, and then 2 cans of butter beans that I rinsed really well. You can make this with other kinds of beans too. Chickpeas or white beans would be really delicious. Also adding some Italian seasoning and throwing in some kale as well, just for health. I like to let everything simmer for a bit, let the kale wilt down, and then add in some homemade cashew cream and some vegan parm. I've also made this plenty of times with nutritional yeast instead of parm, and it's just as good. I finish everything with lots of fresh basil and a squeeze of fresh lemon juice. I'm obsessed with this recipe. It's so comforting. We made a little side salad and had our crusty bread for dipping. If you love beans, if you love Italian flavors, definitely give Marry Me butter beans a try. So I got a package yesterday that I thought we could unbox together. It's from Thrive Market, who are sponsoring today's video. And if you're not familiar with Thrive Market, they are an online membership-based grocery store. They offer really high-quality products, but you get big savings on every single order. And I've been using them since 2017. We use them for a couple different things. So I like to get a lot of my pantry staples from Thrive Market. Every time I place an order, I stock up on my favorite gluten-free ramen noodles. These are so good. And then this time around, I got some of my favorite organic oats. We also like using them to buy a bunch of like sweet treats. So we got these Unreal gems that Eric is obsessed with that we can't find anywhere near us. And we love that you can sort by lifestyle. So we can just select vegan, go through all of their fun snack selection, and we don't have to, sift through the ingredients on a bunch of different products. So they have an amazing selection and everything's cheaper than what you would pay at your typical health food store. Plus they have customer reviews, and I'm a big researcher before I buy things, so it's nice to see what other people are saying about products. So the way it works is you pay for a yearly membership. It's $60. Everything comes straight to your door, carbon neutral shipping, and orders over $49 are free shipping. Plus Thrive Market donates a membership to a family in need for every annual membership purchased. If you'd like to try out Thrive Market for yourself, visit thrivemarket.com/Sarah's Vegan Kitchen. You can get 30% off your first order plus a free gift worth up to $60. I'll have all the information linked down below. Thank you, and let's get back to the video. Here I'm doing a little bit more light meal prep. I'm making some overnight oats. And if you've ever tried the overnight oats from Mush, I love those, but they're way too expensive to buy regularly. So I have been making this kind of copycat version at home. Into a blender, I add medjool dates for sweetness, some almond butter, vanilla bean paste, little pinch of salt. Then you can use water or some milk. I'm using Ripple milk to boost the protein a little bit. Blend that up and then pour it over your oats. I'm using quick oats, and how cute are these little jars? This combo is just so good. It kind of tastes like dessert to me. I actually look forward to eating oats this way. It's one of the only ways that I can enjoy oatmeal. Sometimes I'll add some grated apple or some nuts for some extra texture. You can customize it in a lot of different ways, but it's really good. While I was in a meal prepping mood, I went ahead and made a little high protein dessert. This is my silken tofu chocolate mousse. So you just blend up a block of silken tofu, add some sweetener, some cocoa powder, a little bit of instant coffee if you want. It doesn't taste like coffee, just kind of intensifies the chocolate flavor. Some vanilla, a pinch of salt. Then you blend in some melted chocolate. Then you just pop this into some jars, let it chill for a few hours, and it has the most delicious, whipped, creamy, dreamy texture. You can't taste the tofu, trust, it is so good. I wanted something really quick and easy for dinner, so I decided to make my orange tofu. For this, I started off by making a batch of crispy air fryer tofu. This comes together so quickly. So I had already had my tofu pressing for about half an hour, and I just tore it up into bite-sized pieces, tossed it with some peanut oil, salt and pepper, onion and garlic powder. And once the tofu was coated with the oil and spices, then I added some potato starch, gave it another quick toss, poured that into my air fryer basket, and then I let it go for about 20 minutes, and in the meantime, I threw together the sauce. So here I'm whisking together orange juice, a little bit of orange zest, some soy sauce, rice vinegar, toasted sesame oil, and some brown sugar. The recipe on my blog calls for more sugar, just to make it taste kind of on par with a takeout style orange tofu, but usually if I'm just making it on like an average weekday, I will reduce the sugar a little bit. Now in a skillet, I'm drizzling in a little more peanut oil and adding minced garlic, the white parts of my green onions, some minced ginger, and some red pepper flakes. I let those soften up, and then I pour in the orange sauce and let that thicken over the course of a minute or two. By now my crispy tofu is done, so I pour that in, give it a toss to coat it with that delicious orange sauce, and garnish it with some more green onions. We pretty much always serve this with steamed white rice and some kind of steamed veggie, usually broccoli, but today I mixed it up and served it with green beans. Our rice cooker has a little steamer tray on top, so I can just use that to cook the green beans. Don't have to clean an extra pot, and it's nothing special, but hey, anytime I'm getting my greens in, I consider that a win. On this night, I wanted to make one of my favorite Indian dishes, a plant-based version of Palak paneer using tofu instead of paneer. I do love a good Indian takeout night, but I will say I feel like takeout has gotten so expensive lately. I love to support local restaurants when I can, but lately I've been finding myself making this dish on repeat instead of ordering it, and it never disappoints. It starts like many Indian dishes with a base of aromatics, including onions, ginger, garlic, and green chilies. I'm using serranos. Then in place of paneer, I'm using super firm high-protein tofu. I like to pan fry it first in some olive oil with a little salt. I also made dough for some homemade naan. Naan is something that's really hard to find vegan at restaurants. It almost always contains dairy, but luckily it's not too difficult to make at home. We usually like to cook the naan on the stove. I like to use my cast iron pan, but you can also bake these if you have a pizza stone. Just use the highest temperature your oven will go to. You can add minced garlic or cilantro if you like, and brush them with some melted butter right before serving. With our little naan interlude concluded, I went back to making the palak paneer. I sauteed my aromatics with some whole cumin seeds in olive oil till the onions were deep golden brown. This part takes a little bit of time, but it's definitely worth it because it just adds so much flavor to the base of the recipe. Then I added in some fresh diced tomatoes and spices and cooked till the tomatoes started to break down, get jammy. And earlier I had blanched about 10 ounces of fresh spinach, then transferred it to an ice bath to help keep that nice vibrant green color. Kind of comes down to personal preference how much texture you want to leave in the sauce. I add the cooked aromatics along with the spinach to a blender and puree until it's not completely smooth. This is how they make it at my favorite Indian restaurants, so that's how I like to make it at home. Then that goes back in the pan along with some coconut milk and the pan-fried tofu. I serve the palak paneer with steamed basmati rice and our homemade naan, and this meal is always so comforting, and it makes enough for us to have leftovers for lunch the next day, which would not have been the case if we had ordered out. For dinner, we made a batch of Mexican rice and some sofritas so we could make burrito bowls. Pretty often, we can't eat the rice at Mexican restaurants because it's made with chicken broth, but this satisfies that craving for sure. So the key is to fry the rice in some oil for a few minutes. Hopefully you can see it here, but the grains start out translucent, and then as they cook, they become a more opaque white color. And you want to fry the rice till most of the grains turn that opaque white color. Then we add in onion, garlic, and a serrano pepper. Fry that up. And a lot of the flavor will come from some tomato paste and a chicken-style veggie broth. It just makes this rice so savory and delicious and restaurant quality. We also add in a couple sprigs of fresh cilantro. While the rice was cooking, I started working on the sofritas. I usually use the high-protein tofu, but my grocery store was out, so I just used 2 blocks of extra firm tofu and I pressed them really well. You can crumble it, but we use a cheese grater, and then I brown the tofu on its own first, just in some olive oil to give it a really nice chew. Then I set the tofu aside, and in the same pan, I cooked together all the ingredients for the sauce. Chipotle has all the ingredients listed on their website, so it's onion and garlic, poblano pepper, fresh tomatoes, tomato paste, chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. These add a lot of spice and smokiness. Then a couple of spices. Then I add the browned tofu back in, and then I add enough water to cover it, and I let everything simmer for 10 to 15 minutes till the liquid reduces, and this just gives the tofu a chance to absorb all of that flavor. By now the rice is cooked, and we take out the sprigs of cilantro and we fluff it up with a fork. And we had the rice and the sofritas with some romaine lettuce, some avocado, a little vegan sour cream. I was actually going to turn these into tostadas, but then I realized that all my tostadas were broken. Things don't always go to plan, but that's fine. It was still a really delicious dinner, and I had leftovers for lunch the next day. Like I said earlier, I have been loving beans a lot lately, and Eric and I have been making chili quite often. I think we have finally perfected just like a classic 3-bean chili recipe. It's such a good meal prep option. It's very filling, very budget friendly, and flavorful. So we start with onions, garlic, red bell pepper, and jalapenos sauteed together. Add in some tomato paste, fry that up a little, and then use the highest quality tomatoes you can find. Not all canned tomatoes are created equal. Then you add in chili powder, some smoked paprika, ground cumin, a couple of bay leaves, some oregano. I also like to add in a little bit of cocoa powder. It makes the flavor of the chili just pop. It doesn't taste super chocolatey, I promise. Little brown sugar too, just a little to balance everything out. And then we like quite a lot of the canned chipotle chili peppers. Add less if you're sensitive to spice. And you can use any of your favorite kinds of beans. I like kidney beans, pinto beans, and black beans. And you just need to leave this to cook for honestly however long you're willing to wait. I'd recommend at least 30 minutes. We usually let ours simmer for an hour or 2 over the lowest heat for the best flavor. I also made some cornbread. I really like making it in my cast iron skillet, so I'll preheat the skillet in the oven, and then I'll pull it out, add in some butter, melt it, and then I pour the batter into that piping hot skillet, and you get these really delicious, buttery, crispy, golden brown edges, and it's so good. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching today. It truly means so much to me. And don't forget that you can get 30% off your first order with Thrive Market, plus a free gift by using my link in the description. I will be back very soon with another video, and in the meantime, take care.